Hello YouTube, welcome back to Carport Garage. Today we're going to take that motor apart, see what the damage is. And that's the Gen 3 that came out of Brandon's old white Camaro. I think it was a 96. It was a V6 that someone had swapped in an LS motor. But the cylinders honed out good on that one, so I'm going to take the oil pump and the crank out. And I don't know if the crank's any good or not. It can be turned, so I'll lube that up so it don't rust. The cylinders did clean up good, so I'm gonna lube those up so it don't rust. And we'll set that motor to the side. Make sure that might be able to use that for a future product. And actually, Gen 4 rods actually came out of that motor. Someone had already put the Gen 4 rods on it. You can tell by that dimple. And also, my last video, I was questioning the orientation of the rod onto the piston. And I guess that mark right there tells you that mark goes to the front of the motor. And then you just put these all on with the dimple on the other side with the Gen 4 rods. But the Gen 3 rods, I don't think they have that dimple. But from what I've seen, see, these cylinders are numbered based by the crankshaft. That's why it's 1, 3, 5, 7 on this side and 2, 4, 6, 8 on that side. It's numbered off the crank. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so on. So if you ever put rods on a piston and you don't have that dimple to go off of, the Gen 4 rods have. I've noticed that all the odd number pistons, the tangs for the bearing, go towards the oil pan. See, dot forward, like that, tangs up. So 1, 3, 5, 7 to go like that. And then on this side, dot forward, see, and then the tangs go down on 2, 4, 6, 8. So if you ever put rods on pistons, that's good to know. It's completely different in small block Chevy, because on small block Chevy, all the tangs go up. The rod has a smooth side, a flat side, and a side with a chamfer on it. The chamfer has to go up against the crank, and the flat side has to go rod to rod right in the middle. And so that's completely different. We're putting those together, but this is an 07 motor. It has the 24 extra reluctor wheel, and that's why we're going to use that block. He could have used that crank in his aluminum Gen 4, and we could have did the DOD delete stuff. But anyway, transmission fluid in where?
In the turbo. Oh, should be none of it. Why is it there?
Oh, Austin's here. He's going to take that motor apart. But also, 04 up, they use the short head bolts. I don't know if y'all can see up in there. The 03 down, they use longer head bolts, but the 2 outside ones are shorter. And they don't go in water jackets. Last couple times I've done heads on these motors, it looked like to me they went in water jackets, but they do not. So you just want to clean the threads, make sure you blow the hole out so stuff don't get down in the hole, and you put your bolt down in there and tighten it up on all the crap in the hole. You could crack the block, so definitely don't want to do that. But you definitely want to use lube. But yeah, and also, I don't know if I said it or not, these rods can be resized. What they do is they just take more material out of here, and then you get a special bearing that's got more material on the back of the bearing. So someone may be able to still use those. Those are Gen 4 rods, but we're going to take that apart. I'm going to take the crank out of that one, lube up the cylinders, lube the crank up, because maybe it can be turned. I don't know. Machine shop have to look at it. And then we'll set that block to the side. And then Austin got bearings, rod bolts, new head gasket, gasket kit, and everything like that. So we're going to put new bearings in that one. And we're going to keep the main bolts. And then the rod bolts, we're going to replace those with just stock rod bolts. And then we did get the ARP studs for it, so no more blowing head gaskets, hopefully. But yeah, let's dig into this thing and see what we got. Get her done, Austin.
We're going to take better care of this motor.
My mom's water pump went out yesterday, and or water heater. I'm thinking motors. So me and Austin spent the day over there putting a water heater in yesterday. That sucked because it was in a cross. It's one of those shorty water heaters, and it was
Under the floor.
underneath the floor in the crawl space. You know, we got about 3 feet down there.
Which is weird anyway.
Yeah. We got our heater back working. I got to go over and finish it up. But we're on motor stuff today. Get her done, Austin. Go, go, go.
Next thing we gotta do is get that freaking boat in it.
Wife over here to help us. Jocelyn, you gonna help us today? Oh, well, I'll be dang. Look, Jocelyn, she's about to pop out a baby and she's over here helping us. So, I think I'm gonna call cylinder 3 on this one. Look at that. So it wasn't the one that hydrolocked. Is that right there?
Sun it barely.
And I think Jocelyn said there was a hole in this side of the block too. This was the next. Oh yeah. Look at that. There's a wrist pin sitting right there is what it looks like.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So this one will come off next and see if we got one over here too.
That was lucky. Wedge like
But
that.
that piston did get a hold of the valve a little bit. So I was going to come over here and fill this chamber up. Like when on my LT1, if you guys watched that video, what I did is I filled the chamber up with oil or transmission fluid and I let it set for a couple of days and it didn't leak. But unfortunately, that is pretty obvious. That is obvious. I shine light through here and you can see it. Yeah, I don't know how good you guys can see it, but I can see the valve stem myself. See if I can get a good angle. But yeah. So the valve, the guide, and a valve job is going to have to be done on that one. Which, I mean, if you're going to do that, you might as well get a valve job on all of them. But the other head's coming off now, so we'll see what the damage is there. And these are the 799 heads, so these are the good heads. These are the good flowing ones. Dang it. Well, Austin said he was going to blow it up. He blew it up. All right, this one don't even have a piston in it no more.
It's probably the whole pan.
It's gone. Yeah, it's down there in the oil pan in pieces. But it wasn't a cylinder hydrolock. What do you want? What do you want?
This one's a try, actually.
Yeah, that one didn't hit.
No, it looks like it hit nowhere. Looks like it's shut good.
Well, I mean, something hit right there.
Yeah, right here in the middle.
Yeah. Need to fill that one up with fluid and see if it leaks. That one's definitely done.
Oh yeah, that's cooked. Well done. Stick a fork in.
That one probably needs a valve guide, and a valve job. Don't lose the washers off the bolts. You can sell them. Or reuse them if you get a pre-2003. See, like,
Plus we done ordered
these use the long bolts. And then on the 2 outside bolts, the very 2 outside ones, up here and over there, they use that size bolt. And whereas the 2004 and up, all of them are pretty much that size. They're a shorter bolt. But
Here we go. Pull that bag up.
like, see, these go all the way down there. And this block is a 2007, but it's got the 24X reluctor in it. See, these head bolts,
What time is it?
they don't go down that far. I don't know if you can see in there. Yeah, see?
8 o'clock.
Stops pretty short down there. But yeah, I'm going to take that apart. All right, so that one we filled up with transmission fluid. We're just going to let it set like that for a day or so. Make sure it don't leak. That one might be all right. On a budget, on a budget. So we put that transmission fluid in that cylinder and it didn't hold the transmission fluid. And it ain't even been set in 24 hours, so. That head's got a bent valve too. That one's obviously got a bent valve. So Austin's gonna buy a 706 head, and we got these 706 heads here that he took the springs out of because these were off of Brandon's old motor, and they had the sloppy stage 2 springs in them. And I told him to put the valves back in and put the stock springs back on there, and he didn't listen to me, and now he's going to have to buy another head. See, you can't just throw the valves back in there because the valves match up against the seat and they can't leak. If you put the valves from this piston or in that one and this one, more than likely they're going to leak. But he did put the valves back in this one. Hopefully he put them in there the way he took them out. But yeah, those are still in there. But I told him to put the springs and everything back in there just to make sure they don't fall out. But he didn't listen to me, and that's going to cost him having to buy another head, because we could have just used that one. But even that head with the valves out of it, it would just need a valve job. I don't even know what they charge for these days. It just needs a valve job. And then the $7.99 heads, those probably need valves and valve job and guides and all that. Not sure how much that'd cost either, but be cheaper just to use that one 706 head and then buy another 706 head. So actually these are 862 heads. I thought they were 706, but someone grinded the number off that one. But the other one is an 862. No, never mind. I was looking at the wrong side. It's 862. All right, so we had to change the plans on the heads. We're just going to take these valves and put them back in here and lap them, see if we can't get them to seal. And probably lap those too while we're at it. And then we'll take the springs off the $7.99 heads that are burnt.
Burnt. One of them. No, they both are.
And
we decided that, didn't we?
Yep. And put the springs in these, and then we'll put them up on the shelf and yeah. So fill them up with liquid, make sure they don't leak. I know my LT1 heads, even after my mishap, none of mine, I filled it up with transmission fluid, and they didn't, 3 or 4 days, they didn't leak at all. But the cam did get a little bit on it, on a couple of lugs, but those will be fine. We'll hit it with an emery cloth and sand it. Budget, on budget, we're poor folk. And I don't know if he mentioned it or not, but he bought a VSR 80 millimeter turbo. So VSR is going to help us out on some parts, give us a little bit of discount. So they got some good parts. I know a lot of people use them. You guys hit them up.
Decent price turbos for sure.
Yeah, good price turbos. I know a lot of people that are using them and having good good results from them. Yeah, we're going to lap these valves, and then we're going to flip that one over and see what caused the problem. The only thing that I could think of that caused that problem is the bearings were just too worn and failed, or the rubber O-ring in the oil pickup failed, or he accelerated so hard that the oil went to the back of the pan and the oil pickup didn't pick up no oil, which is a problem on these stock pans, stock oil pickups. You know, if you launch too hard or accelerate too hard, a lot of people, they add a couple quarts of oil to them so they don't do that. But we'll dig into that a little bit deeper and see if we can figure out why it did that. So these valves are lapping out really good. Just some Permatex valve grinding compound and some of these wooden lapping tools. And look at that. Let's zoom into it here. And this one had a big old indent in it. But see that gray color all the way around there, no pitting? That's what you want it to look like. And then same thing on the seat, no pitting, nice and gray all the way around through there. Here you go, awesome. And then I'll show you what we kind of started with. Well, probably not on this one because I've already lapped it a little bit. Let's take one out that we didn't do.
Here.
Yeah.
Let's get the exhaust one. Don't look too bad, really.
So here's one we didn't do. That one ain't that bad either.
The first one was starting.
That first one he started on, it was really bad. But you'll see pitting right on this ledge right here. You want to get that pitting out. But that one ain't that bad. This one ain't that bad at all. Actually, these heads are pretty good.
None of these are really that bad anymore.
That first one was really bad. There was actually one spot in it I didn't think he was going to get out. But he got it out. But yeah, we'll lap all these and then we'll set them up on, after we put the springs back in them, we'll set them on the bench and we'll fill them with transmission fluid or oil and make sure none of the transmission fluid or oil comes back out. When it does, it comes out the intake port or it'll come out the exhaust port. And that'll tell you which one is your problem. Yeah, this is time consuming. He worked on that one exhaust valve for 10 minutes, but that was the worst one. It usually takes about 5 minutes per, so you do the math on that, 10, 20, 30, 40, hour and a half, 2 hours. Like gapping rings, it takes forever, but some of this stuff you just gotta take your time with. See, this one I've worked for a little while, but you can still see the pitting in it. So we'll work her a little bit more. All right, where's the damage?
Well,
the little pickup
it's
tube.
a little too hard.
Pickup tube looks to be all right, but the windage tray, not so much. It's a chunk of piston right there. One piston just literally exploded. I'm gonna go ahead and take this windage tray off and see what that ring looks like. What is it, Austin?
I don't know what else to say.
He's still lapping valves. That one intake valve on that one cylinder, we're having a hard time getting a pretty big pit out of it, and we don't have another valve. Wish we had another valve to put in it, but I think it's still going to seal. It'll be better than what it was. Let's take this oil pickup tube off and see what our seal looks like down there. Well, there's the oil ring for the pickup tube, and it was sealing pretty good. It was on there pretty good. It was in the hole good, so I don't think that's what it is. I think the bearings just got old and spun, is what I think. But let's take this windage tray off, take a rod cap off that broke a rod, and see what they look like. Well, there we go, guys. Broke rod 3 and 4, shattered piston 4, and the wrist pin's way back here, and the piston is shattered. But hopefully I can get these rod caps off, because the bolts ain't looking too happy. Yeah, I don't know if I can get those off or not. The bolts are jacked. But, I mean, we can look at these other bolts just to see a few things. Yeah, that's the wrist pin. It goes in the piston. Oh, I wish you wouldn't have dropped that down in there. I turned the motor over easier. It don't matter.
What are you going to turn it over for?
To get to these other rod caps.
Well, you only need to look at these too, don't you? You're going to edit all that out there.
Nah.
Send it.
Those are Gen 3 rods.
Well, yeah, it's a bone stock motor.
Well, guys, I don't know what caused it. The bearings weren't spun. I mean, the bearings don't look perfect, but they didn't spin. There ain't nothing wrong with them. The only thing that I seen wrong is this ain't supposed to be a washer. I took this rod bolt out with my fingers. It pushed that up and just broke it. I wonder if that rod bolt came loose. Oh, no, that's not the right one. I don't know what happened. Oddly, the really funny part about it, that ain't the right one either. I'm picking up all of them but the one I was wanting to look at. And here's where that rod bolt went in the hole. Look, it's oblong to hole. It's supposed to be round like that. That's not round. I wonder if that rod bolt came loose. Yeah, and that would have been on the one that's missing a piston.
They're both missing pistons.
Well, they're not. No, the other piston's still in the. I mean, it's in there. It's just crooked. The other one's disintegrated, and that's the one that's disintegrated. I wonder if the rod bolt came loose, or the part that's supposed to be a washer but attached to the bolt. I wonder if it just broke and came loose. But I mean, right before it blowed up, the oil pressure was jumping all over the place. I don't know if you guys noticed that in the video because you could clearly see it. But the funny thing about it is we probably didn't have to buy a crank. I think this crank's still good because all the bearings were still good. None of them were spun. And I don't see any other. Well, obviously have to take it out and look over it real good. But I think the crank might be still good, but that's cool. We could put it in that one. Maybe we can get them Gen 4 rods oversized and buy the oversized bearings. You know, get them honed out bigger to clean them up where the rod had spun in them. Maybe we can put this crank, get some Gen 4 rods. Oh, those are Gen 4 rods. We could just hone those rods out and get the bearings with the bigger backing on them and put that together. I don't know, man. I don't know what caused this. The only thing that I can see that would have is that piece breaking off the bolt, making the bolt go loose, and then cause the rod to, I don't know. I don't know. Either that or injector failure and it leaned out a cylinder and then popped the piston and then broke the rod and then the rod broke the other rod. I don't know. What do you guys think? Hit the comments there and tell me what y'all think. But that's Austin's finishing up lapping the other head, and we're gonna put them pack whatever springs come with the sloppy stage 2 cam, but he's gonna finish lapping those valves. We're gonna put those springs on them 862 heads, and we're gonna put that one right there together. It's a 2007, but it's got the 24X reluctor in it. So that just makes everything easier. When you do the aluminum block Gen 4s, you gotta get a different valley tray. You gotta get a different cam gear. The knock sensor you have to relocate to the side, and then you gotta get extension wires for the knock sensor and the front timing, the front cam sensor, and plus, I think when you relocate the knock sensor, I think you got to drill and tap the block. I don't know. We're not going to do all that. We're just going to use that 24X block and head studs and stuff like that. But I don't know what happened with it. I don't know. Maybe it did like my LT1, pulled the wrist pin out of the piston, or I don't know. I really don't know what happened. But I'm going to pull this crank out because I think it's still usable and maybe put it in that other motor. But y'all tell me what you think. Like and subscribe. Have a great day. Body awesome. Y'all have a go.
Before I end the video here, I just wanted to go over the difference in the old pickup location on these stock motors. That's a terrible location. That's right at, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, piston like 5, 6. And you accelerate hard and all the oil goes to the back of the pan. That's not going to pick up the oil. And like I said before, most people just overfill, 1 or 2 quarts, so that doesn't happen. Now this is the oil pickup for the oil pan I bought off of eBay that puts it farther back in the rear. This is a really good upgrade when you're doing this type of stuff because it puts it right about cylinder 7, whereas his is right above cylinder 5. So under hard acceleration on mine, it shouldn't lose oil pressure because oil's going to go back to the pan. The oil pickup's in the back of the pan. Whoever thought of putting the oil pickup tube that far forward on a motor, I don't know. I don't know about that decision right there.